All right, so how's everybody doing? This is the Alumni Senior Experience Zoom. We've got 3 seniors here, currently 3 former seniors, Poway Unified School District seniors representing 3 high schools, Westview High School, Poway High School, and Rancho Bernardo. We have our lead CTE counselor in the Poway Unified School District, Emily Stevenson, here. And my name is Coach Jamal Felton. I work at Rancho Bernardo High School. So the 2 of us will be moderating this. The basic premise of this Zoom is really just to provide everybody with what the experience was like for our seniors in the district during their time when they were in high school. Now, as college freshmen, they can look back on that time and talk about the things that worked well for them, and maybe even also some of the things they wish they would have known prior to. So without further ado, the 3 young people we have here, Brendan Lockie, Ethan Bridges, and Jordan Nguyen, I will let them introduce themselves and talk a little bit about themselves. So why don't we start with you, Brendan? Go ahead.
Hey there, everyone. My name is Brendan. I went to Rancho Bernardo High School last year and graduated. I was very involved in the peer counseling program. I was the president as well as the drum major in the marching band for the Royal Regiment. And I'm a freshman right now at UCLA studying music education.
Awesome.
Cool. My name's Ethan Bridges. I graduated from Westview High School last year. And when I was there, I liked being a Westview ambassador as well as working out with Unity Day. I am currently a freshman at UC Santa Barbara, where I'll be studying pre-global studies.
Okay, my turn, I guess. Hello, everybody. My name is Jordan Nguyen. I am an alumni from Poway High School. At Poway High, I was a peer counselor and ambassador, as well as the treasurer of CSF. So that was really fun. Currently, I am a freshman at Baylor University, studying elementary education with a minor in Spanish. And I'm also in the honors college as well.
That is awesome. I appreciate you guys being a part of this Zoom. So I think the next thing what we're going to do is I'd like for, in any way anybody can jump in and answer this. I'd like to give the audience just an idea of what the application, being a senior, the application process, choosing a school, researching scholarships, and et cetera, what that was like for you. So I don't know who wants to jump in, but why don't you go ahead and we'll just get going.
I can start us off because I introduced first, but I'd say to recap in one word, organization is the word that I always go to. Like, organization is key in applying to colleges. I mean, there's so many different steps to remember that I think just organizing it, I actually have a binder that I brought, but when I was going through it, I made this giant binder of all the deadlines and all that stuff. This was provided by the RBE Bronco Center. But anyways, organization's key to just get through all the steps.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I remember when I was going through the whole process, I may not have been always as organized as I should have, but eventually I even ended up making a college email to make sure I was getting all the information and all was all in one place. And that definitely helps to make sure you're getting all the steps done for all the colleges and just really knowing what you need to do.
So for me, I wasn't really involved in what I wanted to do. And I was actually surprised that I picked Baylor because it's a very intense high level school. So for me, I wasn't oh, maybe I'll just apply here or I'll apply here. But for me, the counselors at Poway High, as well as the administration who helped me gather my information, gave me information about certain schools. They really helped me through the process in figuring out what I wanted to do, what was the best programs, where I could find the best elementary ed program, specifically with a Spanish minor, something that I wanted to customize myself. So they really helped me find what I really wanted, as well as certain scholarships that would help me as well, just to go through that. And I should have kept a binder, as Brendan and Ethan said they had. But I just try to do it as the best as I can. Even though I could have applied to more colleges or done more to get more scholarships, I always could still do more now. So don't worry if you feel left behind. You can always just spontaneously just apply to a college and you'll probably or probably not will get in. So it's all in the hands of the administration gods.
Yep. I
And
really
I
like
have
what
a,
Jordan.
oh, go ahead.
Yeah,
Sorry. I
yeah.
was going to say, I have a question too about just like the procrastination, but you could answer first, Brendan, and then just what's
was
your
gonna-
advice for students that are procrastinating?
I was gonna be real quick before that, just jumping on. Jordan talked about talking to the school administrators and like counselors. I think that's a huge, like, very important part of it. You know, use your resources, and these counselors and staff in the at the high schools are there to like help you, and that's like literally their job and what they enjoy doing. And so make sure to like talk to them and get their input on it. You know, they have to write a letter of rec for you too, so make sure you're with them along that process. As well as Coach Jamal is a huge help for me with he set up these college where the college reps would come to our high school and just talk about their college and we could ask questions. And so I tried to attend as many of those as possible. Now they may be over Zoom, so try to attend the Zoom meetings as much as possible. You want to get your name out there so you get to like meet these reps and have a one-on-one conversation and ask questions so you know like what you should do when making your application.
Yeah, totally. This is also around to Jordan's thing about counselors. There were so many times throughout the process where I was like, now what? Like, what do I do next? And I felt kind of lost. And then I kind of was just like, isn't this exactly what the counselor is for? And I would find myself going into Westview. I know we have at the office, there's all the counselors are in one place for you and they're all there to help. And they're all super willing to get you through this process. And so they're all super nice about it. And I found every time I left that building, I just kind of got a better grasp of what I needed to get done. And in response to the procrastination thing, they kind of actually helped me set guidelines for what I actually needed to get done, because I definitely found myself saying, well, I still have like 2 weeks to finish out this application, and scholarships, I don't even know when those are due. And they definitely helped lead me to resources that told me when they were due, and also kind of helped me make sure I was getting all my essays done and all these applications done. And so that was very helpful as well.
Oh, wait, just in talking about, you guys have talked about the resources. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's where I was going to start. You guys are obviously the biggest part of the process. It's your future that you're talking about. Talk a little bit, if for each one of you, it might be different, but what role did your families play in the college application process and decision?
Well, I know for me, my mom's actually a college counselor. So there was that kind of overarching, I knew that if I needed help, I could always go to her, but she was also very much like, well, this is your own journey. You should be the one figuring stuff out. So with that, it was a lot of, they're such a huge resource because a lot of them have gone through the process for college and everything. So if you need help, you can go to them. And so that was super helpful for me, but it was also kind of that own balance of, I need to make this decision myself. So, because I know both of my parents went to UC Santa Barbara, and that's actually the school I ended up choosing. So obviously there's the choices between that and what your parents want and what you want. And so it's really important that you kind of listen to them, because they are going to be really helpful in giving advice, but also kind of choosing your own path.
And
Either
there's a
of
lot
you
of
two want to
logistical-
jump in on that?
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna say, in addition to just helping out like at home, we also help out logistically through the application. I know like I was able. It's a bummer that you guys can't visit the school, but hopefully you can watch online tours of the school. I was able to visit the schools because I had to audition for music for each school that I went to, and so my mom and like dad were willing to drive me to the schools and like for those auditions. And so just that taking that time to go and like visit was really nice. But another big thing is essays. And so I say before you turn in an essay, try to get as many eyes on it as possible. And so of course you want to edit, yourself, but also you want to ask as many people to edit. And so that could be friends or maybe a teacher that you're super comfortable with. But I think like parents as well, like it's nice to get their insight. And so, ton of different ways that parents can help out. Make sure to thank them too.
I think for me, my parents didn't really were involved in my college process. They said that so I'm a family of 7, so most of us went to college. So we all did it all ourselves. So it's really beneficial for me to ask my siblings for help because they've been through the process, but my parents haven't. So I think it's for me, I was lucky to have siblings, but going back to resources, using your college counselors and the administration office to actually help you through the process, because I know there's a lot of people out there who have families that weren't like born in America. So like especially mine. So using other people and looking for them are like beneficial for you to like actually go into the process, because I know for me, I was fortunate enough to have my sister who attends college right now to help me through the process. And then going back to Brendan's, looking over everything and getting everything sorted out is what you need to do, especially talking to your family about it. And another thing I wanted to hit on was financial stuff. So talking about like how much school's worth with your family, if you are paying out of pocket for your own schooling, um, still talk to your family about it, because they're still going to play a huge role in what where you go, and they know, I feel like, more about the money aspect than you do as an 18, 17-year old. So they're going to be a huge resource in that area of financial help. And then I forgot. Oh, I know that LA and Santa Barbara are all in California, so being out of state for me is a little bit different. So obviously my family wanted me to stay in California, closer to them, but I thought Texas was a great school for me, or Baylor in Texas was a great school for me, because I also have family over here, and I knew that my family would be okay with me going to a school that also had family there. So I think being sure that um, your family knows that you'll be okay, mentally, emotionally, and physically is very important.
Yeah, and I want to just touch upon one thing. When you started talking about the financials, one huge thing is the filling out the FAFSA, because there's so much information that you need to input onto that document. And if you aren't communicating with your parents or whoever's in charge of those financials, it's going to be very difficult to fill out. And especially when you're doing that, you just got to make sure all your information is in there right, and do it early. That's another thing I want to say, because if you turn it in and something happens to be wrong, you want a good enough amount of time that you can get everything changed and work with your parents to make sure all the information is correct, so you can get accurate data in there.
You guys are really, I think, giving the audience some really good nuggets to kind of digest here. I think one of the things that when you talked about, we talked about this process, I'm going to take us back a little bit. At what point did you start really thinking about where you were going to school, about college, and thinking about, well, you know what? I may have to take out loans, or I may have to do this. I want to go out of state. When did that start for you? Did you wait to the summer? Did you start it in the fall, or did you start it in your, sophomores and junior years?
Personally, I started like thinking about it during the summer, and I that's when I kind of thought about what major I want to go into and like what kind of career path I want to follow. But then I wish I started an application sooner. I don't think I started until August or September, and I was in marching band, so doing marching band with the applications was like a struggle. And so I'd say start as soon as possible. Like right now, get going, start it because we're already in October, so start as soon as you can. But personally, I didn't start until later than I wanted to. But there's a lot of, I mean, it's hard to define where you started because you have to first find out what major you want, then just having the application open and then starting an essay, and there's a lot of different starting points along the path that are super important.
Yeah, totally. I feel like for the entire summer and even leading on the start of the school year, it's like this looming idea in the back of your head, right? Where it's like, I know I need to do my college apps and I know I need to start thinking about what school I want to go to, but also my applications aren't due for another month. And that is a very, very dangerous idea, because it's the idea that it's like it's just there and you can take care of it later, but you really need to get on it as quickly as you can. Because for me, I know especially I didn't run out of time, but I definitely pushed the limit on how soon I got applications done. I found myself just hurrying and asking everyone around me to please check my applications and please check my essays and make sure everything's right. And so I feel like I ended up did not even start until kind of late October. And so yeah, starting as soon as possible definitely be helpful to make your whole process less stressful.
Definitely agree with both of you guys. So I wanted to like spend the summer not even thinking about college, and I was like, I want to be a kid for as long as I can. And now I'm an adult, so now I want to go back to being a kid. But I started my process the beginning of the school year. So just thinking about schools and actually applying. So if you're, I know the scary words of early decision, early action, those type of words. So for me, I applied to Baylor early action, which is not binding, but you get your decision early. So I thought that was beneficial for me to apply like as early as possible to get my results earlier. Because not only because of financial situations, but just so that you can be like, oh, I got in here before like everybody else gets in. Um, or applying to your safeties before your other schools, because I know safeties are just safeties, and if you did go to one of your safeties, then it's your best option. But if you're really honed in onto one of your like reach schools or your target schools, spend more time on those, because if you're really wanting to achieve those schools and be dedicated into those colleges, you're going to spend a lot more time on them. So give yourself a little bit more time to work on them. Open the application. You know it's gonna be there. Bookmark it in your Chrome, your Google Chrome, and just keep reminding yourself that it's always there and you need to get it done.
Could I jump back in with two more quick things that both of you guys reminded me of that I think are super important? I I know there's a lot of info going on here, but it's good stuff. Um, Ethan talked about not procrastinating and doing it early, which is, not just important for you, but for your teachers and for your counselors, because you have to get a letter of recommendation from them. And so that's super important, because even if you think, oh, sure, I can write this in a week, or okay, I can do this in like the last week that it's due, you need a letter of rec. And I mean, if you give your teacher, like, I'm gonna say, you have 2 months to write this letter of rec for me, they're gonna write you a great letter of rec because they're not stressed about it. Whereas if you say, hey, I need this letter of rec by tomorrow, can you write it tonight? Well, you wouldn't want someone to do that to you. So I'd say definitely plan stuff out, set deadlines, and those deadlines will help you not procrastinate. So that was about Ethan. And then Jordan talked about the safety schools and reach schools and good fit. I think those are like super important to plan out, as well as, logistically where you are in the country. And so Jordan talked about going out of state, which, at this time, you may totally think like, yeah, I totally want to go out of state, get out of San Diego, I don't want to be here anymore. But then let's say May pulls around and you're like, I don't know, maybe something related to Corona, maybe something related to like family life, and you're like, I just think I need to stay home and stay local. It's important to have those schools that are close to you and far away from you, and reach and safety, all like a balanced spectrum. Just because a lot happens during your senior year, and you don't know, where you're gonna end up.
Yeah, and if I can jump in on the jump in, I'd like to add something as well.
Please do.
One thing that just totally I thought of is when you were talking about making that decision at the end and how different choices may be different now than at the beginning because of different changes. One thing that I did that really helped was making a spreadsheet of all the different factors for each school. And by making that spreadsheet that said, oh, is this out of state? Is it in state? What is the tuition? What majors do they have? Like, is it a reach? Is it a safety? Having those all side by side can be really helpful for some people. I know people who stared at their final decision and they were like, oh, I don't know what to choose. And I was like, well, have you thought about this? They're like, oh, I forgot that school had that, or I forgot that school was that far away, or that's what the campus looked like. And so if you really just lay out all your options, it's going to make your decision a lot easier in the end.
Organization. There it is.
Organization, yeah.
It all seems to come back to organization and maximizing your resources.
Yeah.
It's a common theme I'm hearing here. Em, did you have anything you wanted to jump in here with? Any questions?
No, you guys are rocking this. Like, I mean, this is all the stuff I think that the seniors need to hear, but I hope the juniors are listening to this too when we're talking about timeline and getting organized early on.
Absolutely.
So that's what I want to say is like, juniors, are you listening?
Totally. If I can,
Absolutely.
one thing I love about that is that I think I started going to college fairs themselves starting my sophomore year, because college fairs are such an awesome way to go out and see schools, because the same colleges won't be at every fair. So you can go to as many as you can talk to like advisors and all these different people. I remember actually in the background of Coach Jamal's picture, I actually went to that fair this last year, and I met one of the advisors who hooked me up with someone who helped me choose my major. Actually, I was telling them about things I'm interested in. They're like, have you ever heard of global studies? And I hadn't. And so they sent me to their advisor. And that's actually how I ended up choosing my major, is by talking to this resource that I found at a college fair. So that's a great way to go out and find colleges.
That is awesome. Shameless plug there, but you know, it is great. It's great timing because tonight we have the PUSD fair, and it's a little bit of a different, format than you guys did, which was totally in person. But again, we still have an array of different options for our students. Talk to me a little bit about if any of you, Ethan, you mentioned it. Did either Brendan or Jordan, did either of you have much conversation between admissions counselors?
I've touched on it a little bit, but for the most part at the start, I had no contact with my schools. I was kind of just like, oh, I'll do my own research. And then at some point I hit a wall and I was like, I really don't know how to move forward at this point. I'm not sure if this is the major I want. I'm not sure if this is what I want. And so I went on their website and I just found people you can talk to because they have these whole divisions at almost every school of people who are there to help you through the process and admissions. And you can ask any questions you can even think of. So I think it was about like after I had sent in my actual applications, hello, Jacob, that I realized that they were actually there as a resource. And I feel like if I knew at the start, it would make my whole thing much less stressful as I could have chosen my major and my school a lot easier.
Awesome. So we're going to pivot here for a second. For those of you that when you watch this, Jacob Miller, I'll let him introduce himself in terms of his title. He's coming a little bit late because he is actually at the Air Force Academy. So we get him when we can get him. But I'm going to allow Jacob to introduce himself and just talk a little bit about what he's doing right now, and then we'll ask him some questions. So Jacob, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I know Jacob well enough. I think I can introduce him. If his mic isn't working.
He's having some audio issues, so we'll let him work on this. And we all know that we're at this time. So pivoting back, and Jacob, we'll get back to you, but as soon as you can unmute yourself. What I would like to talk about and check with, and Jordan, you went to Poway High School. How did all three of our schools are on non-traditional, trimester or quarter systems? How did those systems, did you feel like they prepared you? Now that you guys are in school, how do you think they prepared you? Anybody can jump in on that one.
So I know Westview's on a quarter system. So we have a lot of classes you have to end up having to take and a lot of homework. And surprisingly enough, I'm in school right now and I am taking less classes than I was in high school. So I am actually surprisingly have a much easier time transitioning than some of my friends who I've met who were on the semester or something where they weren't used to having only 3 classes instead of 6 or 7. And so it's definitely something you should look at when you're actually choosing your schools of how they set up their curriculum, because it might be something you're used to or not used to. So you have to be ready for that. But also that does not mean you can be complacent about it. I know the first week when I saw I only had a few assignments, I waited a little too long, but yeah, it's definitely it's a for different transition depending on what your curriculum is in high school versus in college.
I went to RB with the quarter system, which I think really prepared me for the UC schools. They're on a quarter system as well, but it's really weird because most schools start in August or September. I didn't start until October 1st, and then I get out in June. So all my friends were starting school. I was just, sitting at home, not doing anything yet. But it is a lot of work, a really fast pace, kind of like how RB was with the quarter system. And so I think it prepares you, really well. So yeah, quarter system, thumbs up.
So yeah, I went to Poway. So I was one of the last classes to have a semester system. So a semester system is like half a year, and then you take 6 classes each semester. And that is what Baylor has currently. But I also, during my sophomore through senior year, I also had a trimester system. So that was very similar to the quarter system, where it's a little bit fast paced. But I think being able to see both sides has benefited me, because I am taking 7 courses right now, which is a lot. But with the trimester system and the semester system, I took like 5 to 6 classes. So a little bit larger than RB. So it has taught me that I can it has shown me that I can balance all of it, because I've been practicing all throughout my high school career. So that has been beneficial for me. But specifically for a semester system, it does go a little bit slower, but you are taking on more course loads, or your course load is heavier. So I'm not sure if I would want to have 4 classes at a quicker pace or 7 classes at a slower pace. It's up to your preference. I think that if you are very driven and can handle it, go for faster paces, but I'm not that type of person. So definitely more classes at a slower pace, but it's definitely depends on the school you want. So if the school is a semester system and you're more of like a quarter system person, definitely look into that because it is going to change the way how you study, how you utilize your weekends, and what classes you take.
Yeah.
On that, you talk about your load, the load that you take in terms of classes and things like that. That's actually, it's almost a perfect pivot back over to Jacob, and I think he can unmute himself now. So Jacob, you know what? As you're in here, you're at the Air Force Academy. Why don't you talk a little bit or touch on the application process? Because I know that you applied for more than just one academy.
Yeah, so as Coach Jamal said, I'm currently at the Air Force Academy. And so for the academy process, it's a really long one. It starts really the second half of your junior year because you want to start getting things together for your congressional nomination packet. And so for those of you that don't know, you actually have to get a congressman's recommendation to go to an academy. And they can only have 5 people at an academy at each time. So that makes the whole college admissions process a bunch more stressful because you essentially have to submit a college application to your congressman as well as the actual college. And so that's only one part of it. Then the academies are obviously also looking for like really strong students academically. And then the third piece of that is physically. We take fitness tests every semester, and you got to take a fitness test to get in too. So that's something that kind of differs from your average college application. So it's kind of a 3-pronged thing. And then along with those things that you have to complete, you also have a medical exam. So they're going to do like a whole physical on you during the application process and make sure that you're physically ready for the rigor of the academy.
That's awesome information. I think when you talked about you have to have a congressional nomination. Are you using that same, do you fill it out one time for all the academies? You just fill it out, the congressman nominates you, and that works for the Air Force, the Navy, and the Army, or how does that work?
So unfortunately not. You apply. When you apply, they ask you to rank what are your top choices. What are your top choices for an academy? So I applied to West Point Navy and the Air Force Academy, obviously. Oh, sorry. And so I had to get a nomination for each of those different academies. And I was lucky enough to get a nomination for all 3. But that's one of the challenging things is if you're applying to multiple academies, you're likely not going to get nominated to multiple academies, which just throws it away. Like you don't even need to bother to do the application because you don't have a chance anymore. So it makes it very competitive.
So bringing the conversation back into bringing all 4 of you back into this conversation, what I actually am thinking about, what do you think, as you look back on your high school experience, what extracurricular do you think that you took part in that best gave you best allowed you to use some of the intangible things that you now use at your school or academies? Like what things? And Jacob, I know you were a soccer player. Brendan, I know you were in the band. Ethan and Jordan, I'm sure you can tell me what it was. What extracurricular do you think actually helps you now where you are?
I'll start off on that one. So as Coach Jamal mentioned, I played soccer, and my senior year I was captain. So the Air Force Academy is known as a leadership laboratory. And so coming here, you know that you're going to be expected to lead. But when you're a 4 degree, which is what a freshman is called, you're obviously not taking a leadership position right away. And so I think one of the biggest things I learned from soccer, being on it both my junior and then my senior year, my junior year in which I wasn't a captain, was I learned how to be a follower, but then I also learned how to step up and lead. And I think that's really, really important here, because at some points you need to know how to be a follower and let other people step up. And then at other points, you need to be the one to take charge and other people follow you.
I'll
That's-
jump in next. Or
Go ahead.
either you want to go ahead?
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
Okay, I was gonna say, Coach Jamal mentioned, I'm a band kid. I'm majoring in music education, so I can't not say band. But I'd say, band prepares you for so many things in college as well as life. Leadership, as Jacob talked about, a lot of, different organizations can prepare you through leadership. I was the drum major for 3 years, so just that, logistically, talking to different section leaders, talking to incoming freshmen and eighth graders, and just leading a large, all the PUSD bands are, 200, huge bands. And so anyone in leadership role has to be able to organize a large group, as well as time management, playing an instrument, even if, any member in the band has to have time management, because first they have to plan out when they're gonna, all the practices we have, as well as, practicing on their own. And so applying that to college, you have to have time management because, classes could be at any time of the day, and there's so much homework for each class and studying to do. No one's gonna, some classes don't check the homework, and maybe some classes only have a midterm and a final, and no one's gonna check that you're studying each week. And so it's really important that you get time management down in high school so that when you get to college, you're prepared.
Totally agree. So for me, one of the biggest kind of extracurricular things I did wasn't like some of the more impressive quote unquote things I put on my application, because there are things you do that can look good on paper, but they don't necessarily make you a better person or a better applicant at your school. And so one of the things that I did that kind of like barely went on my application, is that really the thing that kind of helped me the most, because I was in the Random Acts of Kindness Club at our school. And that was a really fun experience because I didn't necessarily get amazing leadership experience or amazing like cool thing I could put on my application, but I got to go out and meet a lot of different people in our community. We organized a ton of different events around the school, and then even like we made care packages for military people or military families, and we had all these cool different events where I worked with people in the PTA, and I worked with people out of all these nonprofits organizations, and it really kind of helped me become a better person and become a much more well-rounded person, I feel like, because I wasn't just focused on trying to get into a school or trying to get something done. It was more just kind of experiencing different things.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Being a well-rounded student will definitely help you in the long run, not only academics, but extracurriculars. For me, just like Brendan, I wasn't in band, well, maybe in fifth grade, but I was in Spanish, and that's like kind of what I wanted to do. So I like heavily was involved in like a lot of Spanish like classes, and one of my like application like essays was like all about how Spanish has changed my life. So showing that you're taking like AP classes or like going into honors classes in high school really shows that you're dedicated into that like field. So since I'm a Spanish minor, it shows that like I was really dedicated in high school and I want to further my academic career in the field of Spanish. So that definitely helped me. But on the extracurricular side, I was heavily involved in a lot of like clubs in high school, but specifically outside of high school, I think I was also like really involved. Like I taught religious education. I was a mixed martial artist for 7 years, and I was like in different leadership positions in those. And then I did like food packaging events, and just like being also like on campus and off campus involved around the community really sets you off in a different unique box that not a lot of people get to be in. So that definitely sets you at a different level than other people who are in just clubs at school. So I think that like being involved in your community and on campus really sets you in a different arena than the rest of the candidates who are applying to college.
If I could piggyback on that for a real quick second, I think if you are involved in clubs, it's super important to, how do I say this, like get over involved and join a leadership position, And so I think I've heard colleges like to see commitment in an organization. And so personally, I joined a lot of clubs as a freshman, and then continued as a sophomore, and then junior year was like maybe I should go for vice president, and then apply for a leadership position, and then senior year like maybe it's time to go for president. And so it kind of just happens gradually. But I just say make sure to show commitment over 4 years, and if you can show leadership in that organization. Hopefully we have some like freshmen and sophomores listening to this. Maybe you have a little sibling watching right now. So I'd say make sure to join a club and stay committed, and hopefully bring back leadership.
Yeah, and also I feel like as a freshman, a lot of the times people are like, oh, I don't know if I'll have time for this. It's a new school, but it's so important to go out and find clubs, find all these different opportunities, because they're there for you. And honestly, I had some of the best times in high school because of clubs. And one thing, I joined a ton of clubs as freshman, and then I figured out through that what I kind of wanted to do and where I wanted to be on campus. And so if you can find that as a freshman or a sophomore, that's amazing, because then it just gives you a lot easier time as you keep going through school.
I'm going to jump in here before we wrap it up a little bit. I'm actually going to give Jacob Miller the floor kind of to take us out. So Jacob, I want you to think about, your time in high school and your time through the college application process. And I want you just to kind of give people your thoughts on, what they should do, what they should do in figuring out what schools they want to go to, what they want to do. And then maybe also just talk about, we talked about servant leadership, all three of you guys have, and obviously Jacob, you being in the military, that's the epitome of servant leadership. So if you have anything you want to talk about at the end there, just give people your thoughts.
Sure. So to start it off, I think the biggest thing when you're, and seniors, I don't want to say it's too late for you, but the biggest thing for me is like start early. Like when you're a freshman, like everyone else is saying, get involved. If you join 7 or 8 clubs, that's awesome. And who knows if any of those are going to stick, but hopefully at least like 2 or 3 of them stick. And then like Brendan was saying, you're getting up and you're going to be the president one day. And colleges love to see that kind of stuff. So I think that's the biggest thing. Start early. And that literally goes through everything you're going to do. So like I said, like with your extracurriculars, you want to start early. Moving on from there, you want to start early with like your academics too. I think one of the biggest things I learned in high school was freshman year, it counts. I don't care what anyone says, freshman year counts. And so don't think, oh, it's a new school, I'm gonna just take it easy. No, like you need to work hard freshman year. And if you set yourself up for success, the next 4 years are gonna be easy. Like you're gonna do great. So start early there. And then finally start early with your college apps. College apps are a process, no doubt about it. And especially if you want to do military academy stuff, it is a long road, and you just kind of got to trust it. I think a really big thing is time management. Plan out stuff. I literally am looking at my calendar right now that I use, and it's the entire month mapped. And so I still do it. And that'll be super important when you guys get to college too. But start that in high school so that you're working on part of an essay each week. And then by the time you're a month out, you're ready to turn it in, and you're just feeling good and you're ready and you're confident about the package that you're submitting. So start early there. And then kind of the biggest piece of this is start early when finding out what you want to do with your life. Because for me, I think both high school and college are fantastic places to find out what you actually want to do in the world. And high school is where that starts. So if you're putting yourself out there and you're joining clubs and you're going and volunteering, like I think Jordan mentioned, then you're going to find out what you like, and that's going to help you navigate the college world too. It's really beneficial to know what you want to do before you get to college. And that being said, you don't have to know what you want to do. I still don't know what I want to do, quite frankly. But if you do know a general idea, that's going to be super helpful. So what I recommend for that is go try to get internships, latch onto different things, go shadow people, talk to your parents' friends about what their careers are like, things that you're interested in. I'll give you a quick example of what I did. I was super interested in the FBI. So I applied for this one-day FBI San Diego Teen Academy obviously in San Diego at their office. And from there, I actually ended up meeting one of the interns that went to the Naval Academy and sparked everything for me. If I wouldn't have gone to that, I would have never learned about the academies. I would probably be at a UC right now, to be honest. So really just putting yourself out there, that's the biggest thing. So if you take two things away, start early and put yourself out there, because those two things they're going to take you super far, not only in the college application process, not only during college, but also in life.
Well, guys, I can't even tell you how much Emily and I appreciate this. The audience is going to appreciate this because you guys bring a wealth of knowledge that you're sharing with, your former PUSD classmates. And it's helpful not only to them, but to their parents. So we appreciate your effort. We appreciate your time. And, we want to say thank you and good luck. Good luck in what you're doing right now. We know you're going to do great things, but other than that, we're gonna wrap it up. I appreciate it. All right.
Yes. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, guys. This was amazing.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Thanks for having us, guys.